2004. I'm calling the meeting to order at 5:33 p.m. In the unlikely event of emergency, you need to note the exit clearly marked. Take a moment to note the exits near to where you're seated. Smoking not allowed on school grounds. As a courtesy, please turn off your cell phones. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point in time, we're going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Talbot.
Good evening, everyone, to our Board of Education colleagues and to the community. Welcome to tonight's Board of Education Budget Adoption Meeting. We are at a time when we reflect on our journey through this budget development process in our school district. Over the past months, our team has worked tirelessly, navigating challenges and seizing opportunities to ensure that every dollar allocated serves its purpose effectively and efficiently. Central to our process has been an unwavering focus on student success. We recognize that every decision we make directly impacts the educational experiences of those we serve. Thus, each budgetary consideration has been weighed against its potential to enrich learning, foster innovation, and promote equity across our diverse student body. Our budget is not merely a financial document. It is a blueprint for the future of education in our district. With resilience and vision, we will continue to adapt, evolve, and strive for excellence in all that we do. I would be remiss not to extend our heartfelt gratitude to New York State Assemblywoman Kimberly Jean-Pierre for her tireless advocacy for the Amityville Union Free School District and the additional $2 million in funding she secured. This crucial support ensures the continued operation of Northeast Elementary School, a cornerstone of our community. We are deeply thankful for her unwavering commitment to our students' futures. We graciously accept this lifeline for our families and our youngest learners, while acknowledging the need to garner regenerative revenues moving forward. Thank you to each and every member of our dedicated team for your hard work and dedication, and the many parents and community members who served as thought partners with us throughout the process. I'm not sure who authored this quote, but I think it is applicable to us in our process here, so I'll share it. Alone, we may achieve much, but together we achieve greatness. In togetherness lies our strength, our resilience, and our capacity to overcome even the greatest of challenges. On this evening, we are going to present the 24-25 budget adoption and share a few remarks before we go further into tonight's presentation. Oh, I have the clicker. Thank you. Budget development is a dynamic process, and no decisions are final until the Board of Education adopts the budget tonight. The budget development process is a collaborative process involving many stakeholders. Our goal is to create a budget that is inclusive of the instructional programs to enhance opportunities for our student scholars while being sensitive to the current economic reality. Additionally, our goal is to be transparent throughout the process. The next slide explains that the additional $2 million that we received in state funding has saved the following. Northeast positions that are retained in the budget. You see them outlined here as pre-K teachers, E&L, physical education, social worker, custodians, clerical, building principal, monitors, teaching assistants, security personnel, and school nurse. The money was also earmarked for a financial consultant for $175,000. We are so elated to state that the remaining dollars are successful in returning our student clubs and intramural sports. At this time, Ms. Buatsi is going to come and give us a budget-to-budget comparison from 23-24 to the present to 24-25. Ms. Buatsi.
Thank you, Dr. Talbot. Can you all hear me? Thank you. This slide shows where we are in the budget process. If you recall, we started with a budget of about 6.87. We brought it down to 6.86, and currently we are at 4.41. This budget is within the task cap. The amount you see there, $117 million, is the increase that over the last year's budget, a total increase of $4.9 million. The budget has to balance on the expense side, and the budget has to balance on the revenue side, as you see shortly. This is a summary of the revenue budget. And as you can see, the bottom line, $117 million, is the same as the previous slide. And where are we getting the revenues from? $65 million is from tax levy. $44 million is from the legislative budget that was announced last Friday. And this is the additional $2 million that we recently received last Friday as well. It becomes part of our revenue stream. In addition to that, we have $3.4 million in other revenues, which includes pilots, interest income, and all kinds of miscellaneous revenues that we receive throughout the year. And then we are pulling $2 million from our reserves to balance the budget, and that's what brings it to $117 million. Again, the revenue side is equal to the expense side, and that complies with the task cap. So the proposed budget of $117 million is funded partly by $65 million in school taxes. The tax levy does not exceed the cap.
Keep going.
Okay. So what happens if we decide to pierce the cap? This is an option that we are presenting, and the Board of Education is going to make the decision as to where they are going to go with these 4 options. The first option is do not pierce the cap, which means we are not adding anything more to the budget and to the tax levy. Because the other sources of revenue are set, any additional increase will have to increase the tax levy, not the other components of the revenue. So if we decide under tier 2 to add back some of the positions that were eliminated during the last presentation, for example, if we decide to bring back 2 deans at the middle and high school, $75,000 for a music teacher, $115,000 for field trip, that will cost $580,000. And that will require piercing the tax cap by $580,000. If we add on to that and bring back the director of ENL, 1 assistant principal at the high school, 1 assistant principal, a secretary to the ENL director, and a French teacher with the added employee benefit, that will be another $570,000 for a total of $1 million. And then if we go to a tier 4 and add back the director of technology, retain 1 FTE for advanced placement, and add employee benefit for a total of these 3 scenarios, $1.5 million, that will have an impact on the tax levy, as I'll show shortly. So, if we decide to leave the tax levy increase at 3.077 and stay at the cap, that will raise taxes $1.9 million. What will be the impact on an assessed value of a home that is valued at $528,000 in the town of Babylon? This is an average. There are different scenarios for homes that are valued more than the average. For example, $750,000 or $1 million. The tax impact for a home that is at the average in the town of Babylon will be $225 a year. And if you split it on a monthly basis, it will be $18.82. If you add the $580,000 that I mentioned earlier, that will increase it from $225 to $290. That includes the tax levy of $1.9 million. If you go further by adding the $570,000 that I mentioned earlier, that will increase the tax levy per household for an average home that is valued, that is assessed at $34.90 to $422 a year. And if it goes to $1.5 million, the levy would increase to $593 for an average home in the town of Babylon. The same applies here for the town of Oyster Bay. The average home will see a $268 increase in taxes under the cap, at the cap, or under the cap. And then it increases to $351 if you add the $580,000. And if you add $1 million, $150, it increases to $515. And at $1.5 million, it's $728 per year, which is broken down to $60.82 per month. This ends the four scenario that we are presenting to the board. Option 1, do not pierce the cap. Option 2, add $580,000 by bringing back these positions. Option 3 is to pierce the cap and add $1.1 million. And option 4 will be to add $1.5 million. Thank you very much.
Just couple clarifications. So on the agenda, under 2C, where it has option A, B, C, and D, it correlates to you by tier 1, 2, 3, and 4, correct?
Correct.
Right. So that's first question. So my second question is in regards to not piercing the cap. It still means that those positions that you presented on April 10th, which deals with the administration of like $1 million and some reduction in structural program, those are all things that would be eliminated.
That's accurate.
Thank you. For me personally, and I'll let the other board members speak, it's been a very difficult time to make a decision in terms of what to do. And I think that as much as I would like to keep everyone, I know I said before that I wanted to pierce the cap. I recognize now that that's not a good option. And I don't want to lose anyone else, but at this point in time, I don't support piercing the cap across the board or anything. So that's just me. Any other board members are free to make a comment and speak up.
Okay, is this on?
Yes.
This is very difficult for me. I think anybody that knows me knows that this is very difficult for me. At first I said I do not want to let anybody go. It's just, I still have two grandkids in the district and they need help, but I cannot pierce the cap. I have to go for number 1, but I will be calling elected officials and things and see if we can get some more money and perhaps bring those people back, some of them back. And I just hope that other people will also join and help in regards to working with our elected officials to see what can be done, bring back the other staff members. Thank you.
Does any other board members have any questions or comments in regards to the presentation? Just to speak, bring the mic very
I
close.
know. Ditto with Lisa and Jeanette. This has been a very difficult time. Speaking to many community members throughout the last couple of weeks, I agree with not piercing the cap. I don't think it'll get voted if we pierce the cap, and after that, it's going to be very chaotic, and we might have to go on austerity. So let's take it day by day. And hopefully we will get some more funding or a miracle, another miracle.
Any other board trustees have any comments? Thank you, Ms. Watson. Any community input regarding the budget presentation or the other thing that's on the agenda?
Hi, good evening, Wendy Canestro. I know this has been hard for everybody, including you. I am relieved to hear that you won't, well, the ones that spoke are not looking to pierce the tax cap. And looking at these numbers, I'm sure you could see that would be devastating for families. We want to keep everybody, but we also want people to keep people in their homes and to provide food on the table. A couple of things that I just wanted to mention about this presentation. It says tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4, but on the spreadsheet, it says option 1, 2, and 3. So I think that option 1, 2, and 3 is meant to be tier 2, 3, and 4, correct? I have to go back and ask what happened with the energy performance contract, if that was reviewed. And I also have to ask excuse me, why you're not still at this point considering transferring the $1 million from capital reserves. I'm looking at these options. If you transfer $1 million, you save tier 2 and 3. Like, why aren't we doing that? Why wasn't that an option? I'll tell you more than anything, taking field trips away from kids, guys, that's devastating to kids. It's something they look forward to. And I'm sure you don't want to do it, but there is $1 million that you can transfer. Why aren't you doing that? You can have tier 2 and 3. You could save these jobs. You could have field trips back. What am I missing here?
So I will, do you want, so I'm sorry. So, with the 1.3 that was moved from the general fund to capital project, that was done by a vote. So in order to move it back again, it needs to be done by a vote and be put on the ballot or as a proposition. So we've missed that opportunity. So it's something that we still can look at to do. We're still looking at to do. Dr. Talbot is speaking to me, so you can go ahead and go from there. So it's not a done deal. So we can look at it to do.
So
But it has to be by vote.
60 days, it had to be 60 days before the vote to get it on. I can't express how disappointed I am that you had an opportunity. The community begged you for this. You know, decision-making is really important. I understand that you guys are stressed about this too. It's not a great position, but this community begged you for that option. You say you want community input. You want to hear from us. It should be a joint decision, but you're not really listening to us. Tier 2 and 3 could have been saved, and it wasn't because you chose not to do that or act within a timeline. It's not the first time that the board goes past deadlines on things. I'm really disappointed in that. I also hope at this meeting that you'll also be discussing the proposition that is going to be on the ballot. As board president, you should be informing the community of what it is and what that means. And I would also like to know, there's a trustee missing here, and I'd like to know if you'll be addressing that.
All right, so I'm going to just stick with any questions regarding the budget presentation, then I'll answer the other questions. Any other questions regarding the budget? Did you want anything else to the 1 million?
No, just to reiterate that the 1.3 million is under review, and we should be able to report out on that in due time.
All right, so go ahead, Dr. Talbot.
Under review for consideration for the 24-25 school year at this point.
Any other questions regarding the budget presentation?
Pastor Calvin Collins at First Church in Amityville, and I live right next door. So one of the thoughts I had as a person who has a degree in music was if it would be possible to have an option 1.5 by taking part of the cost of the financial consultant and putting that cost towards a music teacher, which would be $75,000. And if you took the whole cost of that and put it towards field trips, then that would benefit students as well. One of the reasons I share that is because music has shown to have tremendous benefits, education-wise, for success, for encouragement, for mental health, all different things because of being involved in musical ensembles. Without a chorus teacher, the students have no opportunity to audition for solo festivals or even all-state chorus. The chorus or the music area in New York will not allow a student to do that without an actual audition, or not an audition, but a graded ensemble that they're part of. Without a chorus teacher, there's no way to have that connection. And I know that the chorus teacher that is at the middle and high school has done tremendous amounts in trying to create that atmosphere of togetherness. As someone who was part of All-State Chorus, All-Shore Chorus, which was the local area, and solo and ensembles in my home state of Maryland, I can't imagine not having that experience. Without the cost of part of the financial consultant, it would allow kids to have the opportunity to participate in vocal ensembles that I think goes far beyond the $75,000 that's requested for that. I was devastated, absolutely devastated, and I know many others are as well, to hear of the chorus teacher, which is one position for 2 schools, mind you, that's covering the entire district's middle and high school area, that the students would not have if they continued to be accessed. So that's my word to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pastor Collins, thank you for your comment. We just wanted to give some response to your inquiries. It is unfortunate that we are down one music teacher. The chorus lessons and instruction to the student scholars will continue with the other music personnel. The $175,000 that was earmarked from the governmental officials was earmarked for specific purposes. Even the financial consultant wanted to donate some of that money back to programming. But we do not have that liberty at this point to make those changes with those dollars that have come down. We're not saying that there couldn't be changes moving forward, but as of today, we don't have the liberty to make those changes. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts around our music department and offering those suggestions toward field trips.
Caroline Fanning, I have a just question for clarification on the page 5, the revenues. For the reserves, it says you're pulling, just as you did last year, 2 million from reserves into the general fund. I thought we only had less than 700 grand in reserves.
What you are referring to is the amount of money in unrestricted reserve of 686,000. We have monies in restricted reserve, and this is being pulled from ERS and TRS reserves, restricted reserve.
Okay, so then my question is, at the end of, if you don't pierce the cap and that's the budget that's approved, what is left in the reserves?
For both the restricted and unrestricted reserve, we go down to about $6 million.
Okay, it's a designation I don't really understand yet.
Yes.
So then maybe to help me, what is it relative to the like 700 grand that I was referring to? Does that go up or does that stay the same?
It stays the same, but that is the reserve that you close your books to.
Mhm.
So it can change at the end of this fiscal year.
Okay, I'm gonna have to
It's-
study that more.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Debbie McQuillan. I just have one quick question. Well, actually two. The music, not the music, the field trips. Do you negotiate with the bus companies to have a school bus on site every day? Like as part of their contract? We did that where I was previous, where we negotiated where a bus was always at the district's disposal.
I think it works better because if a bus is at the district's disposal at any time, you're talking about shuttles. When they need to go on it becomes more expensive. But that's something I have to look at.
Right, we actually negotiated that as part of the overall yearly contract.
Correct.
And then we were able to send the students to local parks because getting on the bus with their little bag lunch is a big deal to some young children and the older children. There's a lot of things I'm sure that they can enjoy here in Amityville. It had to be local, but it was at least something.
I think it's a good suggestion. It's something that I'll look at because
Okay.
I spoke to her today and we are going to sit with her and go over so many other things when it comes to transportation.
It's just a thought. We negotiate a lot of things outside of, I guess, BOCES. So just given that. And then I wanted to just ask if it's in next year's budget or this year's budget, but it makes a difference because it's money. I mean, that's what we're talking about. The $110,581, I was told that somebody would get back to me. We're going to pass a resolution to pay the bill. There was no purchase order. The legal said you had to pay it, and then I was approached and said, we didn't really talk to legal, and I'll get back to you, and I haven't heard anything since. Is it in this current budget? Did you already pay it, or is it in next year's budget for the 110,000?
We had to pay.
You still have to pay it, so it's
Yes.
in this year's budget or next year's budget?
We had to pay it from the 23-24 budget.
You already paid it?
Yes.
Really? Okay. I guess nobody got back to me. You said you
I'm,
would.
s- I'm sorry about that.
Well, you made a public, not you, a public statement was made that they were going to look into things further because there were no purchase orders. And you already paid the initial 110,000. So it's almost $250,000. And
We-
we've been looking for it in the agendas. Okay.
We did bring the budget transfer to the board.
I know, and it was stopped that night. I didn't see another one since. Okay. Little confusing.
Good evening, Nakia Wolf, 100 Avalon Court. It's great news that it is that the district received those monies from officials that are going to aid in keeping Northeast open. So thank you as it relates to that. My question is that since it seems like it's a one-time thing, what are we going to be doing going forward as it relates to Northeast? Because if that's being if that's being discussed as being a financial drain on the district, what are we going to be doing going forward as it relates to that? Hopefully, some of that will be addressed in any programs that it is that we plan on bringing into the district. The other piece is the different tiers for piercing the cap. I'm seeing positions here, and I'm very curious as to we have already accessed prior to the ones that were on this list over 34 positions and over 25 of them being classroom teachers. We do realize that that is also going to result in increase in class sizes in a lot of places. I'm very curious as to how come none of those things or none of those positions were included in any type of what it is that the community or what the school district would be receiving or would be able to hold on to as a result of piercing the cap. Just very curious as to why that wouldn't have been part of that in lieu of some of the other things that are here, obviously outside of the field trips.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf, for your inquiry. As it pertains to your first question regarding the need for regenerative revenues, we hear you loud and clear. There has been some preliminary meetings with the Northeast administration and outside agencies about what that means to bring in additional pre-K programs that would fit various needs and formats. And so we're continuing to meet with outside agencies as well as what steps are necessary for us to expand our pre-K program through other revenues. And we hope to be able to bring back a discussion for the board around the cost analysis, efficiency, and effectiveness of those efforts very soon. We're grateful for the Lifeline. It has given us a little more time to get those ducks in a row. But I can assure you that the building administration, as well as central office, we've been working hard toward establishing some continuity for revenue. Secondly, as it pertains to the positions that could be considered in the various tiers to be brought back if the board opted to pierce the cap. Opting not to pierce the cap, there is an additional $2.8 million of personnel programs and services that will not be returning to the district. So prior to that, we had the first round of cuts. So in terms of what could be saved, we looked at what was not yet cut, but that could be retained if the cap was pierced. And those are the positions that were listed there.
Okay, understandable. I just wanted to make sure that when it is that these things were being considered, just because of the fact that there are a lot of outstanding things, including the fact that the district still has many contracts that needs to be negotiated, and you're gonna have increased in class sizes. So the teachers who are remaining, who are left, in a situation where it is that you're going to have to attract teachers, I do think that it's very important that if there is an opportunity for us to keep what it is that we have, in the event that something did transpire with the budget, that it would go to the areas that provide the most impact to our students.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jody Runfola. I have two concerns. Well, more than two, but two that I'm going to express right now, hopefully get some answers. One being the field trips. I have a second grader at Northwest right now, obviously leaving Northwest at the end of this year, and will be attending Park Avenue. I know some of you on the board have grandchildren in the school district as well as children, young children. And I just would like to know how you would go about explaining to your grandchild or children of your own that there will be no field trips at school. Does anyone have an answer for that? Because I
So-
know, being an educator myself, may not be in an elementary school, but a middle school setting. The field trips obviously kind of level off when you get into middle school, but in elementary school level, the students look forward to field trips throughout the year. And in surrounding districts and in surrounding neighborhoods, their friends of other school districts are attending field trips, different areas. They don't have to be elaborate. You know, I could speak on my district attending Brookhaven National Lab, or maybe an Adventureland Park or things like that. But again, I'd like to know, some of you do have children and grandchildren in the district. So how do you foresee yourself explaining that to them, that there are no field trips in the near future?
So, excuse me, as of right now, that discussion, I guess each board member will answer differently, but we're not going to take too much time on this. Just to respond to your question, when it comes to field trips, as of right now, it's not in the budget. As we move forward, we still will be seeking different resources, funding, and hopefully that will be one of the items that can be returned.
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully.
And my other question that is highly concerning to me, I see in the tier 2 and in the tier 3 bracket that you are looking to cut in tier 3 an assistant principal. Again, with a district that tends to have a few behavioral issues and a few behavioral problems, even at the lower grades, what building are you looking to take the assistant principal away from?
Dr. Talbot?
Because I could probably tell you that every single building needs a principal, an assistant principal, and a dean if need be. So again, tier 2, there were 2 deans in the middle school and high school. So removing those 2 deans, 2 deans are normally in charge generally, again, I teach in a middle school, of behavioral issues. Removing 2 deans, then those jobs fall on who? The regular principal, the assistant principal, who have probably close to 50 other jobs that they have to deal with and take care of. And you have, I could speak again on behalf of my building, you have one principal that's in charge of certain things that go on in the building, an assistant principal and a dean that deal with behavior. So removing a dean, especially from the middle school and high school level, where we all know fights break out, hormones are raging, different things occur. How do you suggest we get past that?
Thank you so much for your concerns, because they are viable concerns.
They are big concerns.
Concerns that we have discussed in great detail. Uh,
With who?
Well, among the board, with one
Okay.
another, with administrators at our community meetings, we've been hearing the concern about the deans. And
Mhm.
we believe it would be ideal and best to have deans in the schools. We do not have the money to keep the deans unless the tax cap is pierced.
I get
One of
that.
the dean positions was a grant-funded position.
Mhm,
And as you know, the federal dollars have expired.
mhm.
And so the general fund cannot pick up that.
So then what's your
position.
plan if the behaviors get overpowered? What's everybody's plan then?
Well, each
I don't think
buil-
anybody really has a plan for something like that. I mean, that's huge.
it's a huge
Mhm.
effort.
And then really quickly, if you start to have the cap on the classes with 30 children in a class, you're talking about more behavioral issues that occur in school then as well. Because you know, when the teachers in the classroom can't attend to the children that they need to, and children get bored or they don't have enough to do because their teacher's not teaching them, time's up. I get it.
Hello, Megan Messman. Just to clarify, we've always been looking at $120 million budget, right? So now you've sharpened your pencils and are presenting a $117 million budget. Is that correct?
That's to not pierce the cap, to remove the gap. That was at 4.6 million.
Right.
We received the 2 million, which left us at another 2.6 million, so it went down.
So you didn't have to make any additional cuts to get to below the tax cap? You did, right?
Yes, we did.
So what were the additional cuts?
The additional cuts were the 2 deans and assistant principal.
Okay,
The
that-
field
that's
trips.
spelled out here.
Yes.
Why are these positions viewed as expendable? Why, I mean, I know Jody was going a little bit more specific, but again, like 2 deans, music teacher was spoken to, the director of ENL, secretary, how are we gonna get rid of the director of ENL in our district? How is this, how is this even fathomable?
It's a very difficult road ahead of us. The director of ENL was a grant-funded position. That grant it can no longer be funded, can no longer fund this position.
Going back to, I guess, what Wendy said, we asked for months and months and months, why are you not, and I don't think you answered, why are you not postponing the middle school project to free up the money?
The middle school, the money that, the $2.5 million that was approved by the community for the repairs at the middle school, when we had the meeting back in March, if there was a proposition that went before the public, because the public would have to approve to move that money back from capital projects to capital reserves. And Ms. Bawatsi or Dr. Talbot can jump in. When it goes back to the capital reserves, it's not in an area that we can use to defray any money. We can't, it's just, and it goes into reserve. So Ms. Bawatsi, if anyone wants to just clarify that for me.
Yes, the monies that were placed in the capital reserve fund, if we reverse it, it can only go back to reduce debt service. That cannot be done. And the money that was originally budgeted in the general fund and placed into capital project fund, that's the one that we are talking about. If you recall, Trustee Johnson talked about, we'll be bringing, because it was voted on by district resident, in order to reverse it, we have to go back to district resident and have it reversed. And this is what they've been saying, They are looking into that, and that will be addressed in the 24-25 school year because of the timing issue to bring it back to voters.
So if I understand you correctly, we may have a special election to choose to move that money, maybe in the future? Why can't you say, yeah, like, why can't you just say, yes, we can do it? I don't, like, we've asked so many times.
Excuse me, so we've heard your question, and so we're not going to say right now it's definitely going to be done. It's something that will be looked at, and we will make a decision if we're going to do a special election to move that money back. Because
The $1 million energy contract, did you answer that question?
Dr. Talbot or Ms. Watson?
This was a contract from 2 years ago. And we were advised that in order to retract it, we have to pay close to $500,000 to the company to undo what we did 2 years ago. So it makes sense to proceed with the energy performance contract.
Is the energy performance contract, what is that going to cost in the long run to the community? Because I'm not sure if everybody knows what it is.
It's a lease agreement, and you pay for it like a mortgage over a long period of time. At this point in time, I do not have the ballpark number because it will include paying for both the principal and interest over, say, 15 years. That's how the energy performance works. They'll do the work, and then the savings from the work will be used to pay for that debt service, which is the interest and principal. That's how it works. They'll change the LED lights and the savings. They'll change 2 LED lights, and the savings from the energy will be used to pay for the project cost over. It will be used to pay the project cost, but initially you have to go and borrow money to pay for the project and then recoup the money from the savings that you generate. It's just like changing the lighting in your house to LED. That's the same thing. The assumption there is that you will get savings from the energy that is no longer used, and that will pay for the cost of the project.
So, thank you. So we signed this contract 2 years ago, and this year we're putting $1 million in the budget?
It is not $1 million. It is $436,164. We already had an energy performance contract on the books. I think if you look at it very carefully, there is a new one and there was an existing one. What we are talking about is the new one, which will cost about $400,000 and something. It is not $1 million.
Okay, I don't have the previous handouts. I thought it was $1 million, that line item. So I mean, these cuts, these Pearson and tax cut, getting rid of all of these employees, it's just heartbreaking, really, just the impact on the district. But now you're all sitting there saying, we don't want to pierce the tax cap, but I'm sorry, but you didn't listen to us. We asked you to postpone the project, and you didn't let us vote on them. You're not letting us vote on that money to even come in and help offset some of this.
How you doing? James Jambroni. So I just want to kind of get this square. The $2 million bailout that you guys got, right? Part of the stipulation on that is from the state that you have to have a financial consultant for $175,000. Is that correct, Dr. Talbot?
That's correct.
Now, is that financial consultant going to oversee the board that screwed this budget up for the last couple of years?
I think
So it doesn't happen again?
the duties and tasks will be outlined. The duties and tasks of the financial consultant will be outlined.
Well, here's the situation. You guys got a $2 million gift which you had also got federal funding that we kind of screwed up. Now you got a $2 million present from the state to screw that up. So I'm assuming that possibly that the state is using the financial consultant to oversee this board so we don't make the same errors again.
So Dr. Talbot, a financial consultant is not the same as a fiscal monitor. So that fiscal monitor is,
So
a fiscal monitor is someone who's appointed by the state that would oversee the fiscal component of the board. The
So
financial
trying-
consultant it does not have that
So
authority.
what
to
is
do.
the financial consultant going to do? Take the money that we don't have and invest it somewhere for us? I'm trying to figure it out. The people we want to,
So the,
$175,000 is a pretty nice salary to throw somebody in as a financial consultant when we have year after year after year screwed the budget up on us. You have destroyed it for us. Everybody sitting here, you guys want to rate, I'm absolutely, I would encourage everyone in this room to say no to any tax increase of any sort. Because what would be the point to have you guys mess it up again? So you can have this same situation next year? And Northeast is going to be, or Northwest, or whatever school is going to be closed again. These teachers that work their butts off are going to wind up being neglected again. And you guys could all sit up there and say, first, let's get rid of everybody. And then, oh, we're sorry about it. We feel bad. If you felt bad, you would have done your job, whether you're paid or not. How could you have screwed up for the last number of years? So is the financial consultant that we're going to be paying $175,000 to, because we're gladly taking the 2 million, right? What are the terms of what this financial consultant is supposed to be doing? What's their job description, Ms. Johnson?
so I don't have the answer to the exact job description from the previous contract. I will find out if the same terms are in place. The money that has been earmarked of $175,000 does not mean that all of that money would be utilized. As Dr. Talbot mentioned before,
No, Dr.
as-
Talbot just
as
said that it
Dr.
has
Talbot,
been.
let me finish. I didn't interrupt you. As Dr. Talbot mentioned before, she stated that he already asked if he wanted to give some of that money back. That's one thing that that's going to be worked on. So it was earmarked by the state to say that this is what it was going to be used for. So as we move
Who-
forward, so we'll go from there. We have
Who
to
is
do.
he? Who is he?
Call Frazier, the consultant.
So that gentleman just got the $175,000 job.
He did not get, he's not going to get the whole $175,000. It's saying that the money is there
Did
to
anyone know
be, to
that?
be used.
Did any of us know
He-
that?
He is he has been hired as the financial consultant. He has been here. And so the state
They're
is
getting
just
rid of-
stating,
Wait a minute, we're getting rid of teachers and for our kids. And that man sitting up there that is part of, or has recently brought in as part of the problem, is now being handed $175,000
he's
job.
not going to be handed $175,000. That is the money that has been earmarked by the state in order to pay him. So he's not going to get $175,000. If
he's-
his services are not going to be needed for the entire time, maybe he'll only be needed for another $50,000, but he's
So
not going to get the whole 175.
So
That's number one. Number two, as already stated, the request has gone in to lower that amount. So therefore, money can be used in other areas. If we were told that this is how it has to be used, we're working on moving it to another direction. So that's where we're at right now.
so you do know what his job is? Because
From his contract that he had before, yes, we have the contract. We
Okay.
have a contract, what his responsibilities are.
I'm amazed. I'm absolutely amazed. So it's not going to be to oversee this board or to make sure that none of this happens again.
That's not the job of a financial consultant.
What is his job?
I don't
He
have the
looks
job,
nice.
I don't have the job description
He
in
looks
front of
nice.
me.
You look very nice.
So,
Fraser.
Mr., you know what, let's
What's your
be,
credentials?
excuse me,
You got
let's be
100%.
respectful to
I am
everyone.
being
okay?
respectful. I'm asking
So, and
questions.
your time is up. I'm gonna have the other two people that are here come to the mic and ask their questions. Thank you.
Told you last time. My time is up when I'm done.
Well,
You
your
work
time
for
is up.
me.
So Ms. Canestro, who's next, whoever can come to the mic to ask a question. Thank you.
I won't be long. Two things, I understand that the $1 million transfer of the capital is a moot point because you missed the deadline. But the overarching theme is like, you keep saying, but the voters would have needed to vote on it. It's almost like you don't trust the community to make the decision that you know better than us. But look at where we are. So maybe the community knows better. As far as the controller with the transfer, guys, I have the controller on speed dial. I talk to this guy an awful lot. He said that you can't use the money for salaries. It's true. That's what you've said before. That's correct. He did say you could use it for whatever else you want to use it for. It's at your discretion. So I'm not really sure what this whole, it's only for debt. If you have bills to pay, you could use the money. I wish you would have done it. I know it's a moot point. You can't do it. Big missed opportunity. The other thing that I just want to talk about is the energy performance. There's two lines in the budget for the energy performance. It's the 464,000 for principal, but then it's like 502,000 or something on interest. I read the contract. Energy performance contract is an $8.2 million contract. I would take a wild guess here that everybody would want teachers and field trips over an energy performance contract. I think you should have cut your losses. It does say you have to pay up until then. You would have got $500,000. You could have kept tier 2, right? Because that's what a lot of people talk about, the field trips, the deans. So, I mean, to me, it's just poor decision-making, and I feel bad for the kids. I feel bad for the kids in all this.
Hi, Chris Nearing. It's very disheartening to hear that we missed the opportunity to have the vote on the middle school project put on the upcoming ballot when, and it was 60 days you had before the election, when it was clearly brought up by the community before that time. And my question is, how much of our employment is reliant on grant funding?
Dr. Talbot?
It's in the process of changing now. Over the last 3 years, the district received approximately $11 million in grant funding through the federal stimulus dollars. So there were a large number of personnel underwritten in those grants, but now that they've expired, it's going to be a great shift in the number.
So when we got that money, did it need to be used for employing teachers? Is that what it had to be used for?
No, it didn't have to be used for that. It was primarily to be used to close the learning loss, to address the learning loss, and some health and safety issues. It could have been used for multiple reasons.
Because it was widely known that this money was going to eventually run out, correct?
There was a start and end time on those federal dollars.
That there was no
Yes.
plan put in place to then cover that money once the money dries out?
The general fund could not absorb the personnel programs or services that were grant funded.
But like when these teachers were being hired and whoever it was is being hired, they thought they were going to have a career here, not realizing that the money that they're being paid with is going to be gone in a few years. And there was no plan to figure out, all right, this money is going to be gone. How do we cover that after? Nothing was done to cover that?
I can't give you an accurate response on that.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Debbie Magnani. As a mom of 3 young kids in the district, I have alarming concerns by the cuts that are coming up. To one of them being the 2 deans being cut. for-
Just speak more into the mic
Sorry.
because, yeah,
Okay, I'm going to repeat. My name is Debbie Magnani. I'm a mom of 3 young kids in the district, and I just have concerns for the future of the children. One of them being that the 2 deans are being cut, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but as a mom, you hear things, and one of them is that the high school has a Amityville Fights page where there's constant fighting, behavior issues happening. So as 2 deans are being cut, how is that going to impact that already current problem? And then another concern is the cutting of the director of E&L. I know that the budget is probably more important. However, again, as a mom, you know, one of our schools is already functioning on like the lowest range in New York State. So how do you think that's going to impact the future of this district? And I understand you have to deal with the problem right now, but I'm afraid that the board lacks foresight into what the domino effect this is going to have. So I just am coming to you to say that I hope that you're planning now before September comes to get ahead of these already current problems. Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Ask my question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. Sorry.
Diane Eglinger. I just want to go back to this $2 million gift that we got. When it comes to the decision of a financial consultant and
Excuse me, Diane, can you just bring the mic down? Because when people are at home, they can't hear you. Thank you.
as part of this money, it was just determined that there was going to be a financial consultant and student clubs and intramural sports involved in that money. Who made that decision that that portion of that money was going to go to those 2 topics?
Dr. Talbot?
Sure. The state earmarked the monies for Northeast and the financial consultant and gave the district the liberty to utilize the remaining funds. And those remaining funds went towards student clubs and intramural sports.
Okay, so the state is the one determining that we need a financial consultant involved in this $2 million grant, yes?
The state, meaning the governmental officials who
Are
earmarked the
granting this
dollars.
money to us?
Yes.
Okay, so then who determines what that person's job is? I would think it would come from the people who are giving you the money to tell you this financial consultant has to do A, B, C, and D. It shouldn't be you guys determining what that consultant should do. It should be the people who gave us the money.
So those conversations have not taken place as of yet. We anticipate getting more information on what their expectations may be. At this point, we've not had that detailed conversation. And we anticipate that we'll be conversing with them soon around the allocation of those dollars and expectations.
And when will they be allocated? When will that $2 million be allocated?
Well, that will be, that's added state aid into next year's budget.
Okay, so the amount of 175,000 was determined by who?
The state,
The state.
the elected officials. I don't want to misinterpret the word state.
The local government that is allotting this money to us.
Yes.
Right? So they determined it was $175 that should be used for a consultant.
Yes.
Who determines who that consultant will be?
Those are very good questions. And we anticipate having a conversation to work out these details. So we don't want to misspeak and give any information until we've had a conversation with them, and that has not transpired to date.
Okay, so I see you accepting this money, you meaning General you accepting this money, not finding out any details, just that you have to have a financial consultant and you could do whatever you want with the other 162,000. Which kind of leads us back to all the money we got, $11 million during COVID, that was used for many different things, of which not all were appropriate. So now we're in this big mess because nobody looked at the fine print of what that money was supposed to be used for and what it was not supposed to be used for, like benefits and things like that for teachers. So I see us getting into the same mess with this $2 million because you're accepting it and you're not finding out what are the rules. Where's the paperwork defining what that $2 million is going to be used for?
That's forthcoming, but the monies have been earmarked for Northeast Elementary School and a financial consultant. As we get more details, I'm sure we'll share those details, but that's it.
But it's already been said that the financial consultant, I don't know who he or she is already on the on our paperwork, right? We have a financial consultant. But why should that be the financial consultant that's used for this $175,000? That's what I don't understand. This all should have been laid out. It's typical government, but all should have been laid out before you signed the dotted line saying, I want that $2 million. Just like it should have been laid out before you signed the money that we got from the state, $11 million, and the money was not used appropriately. That's why we're in the mess we're in.
Stephanie Andrews. Excuse me if I've asked something that somebody's already asked and answered. The sound system here is horrible, and I really can't hear half of more than half of what we're saying. I have a few issues. So what happens in 24-25 budget year when you don't have the $2 million from New York State? Because it's a one-time infusion. Do we know what's going to happen? You're going to have to make it up in that budget year, what you need for the normal expenditure to increase?
Dr. Talbot, I'll give it on to you. Excuse me.
Yes, Ms. Andrews, that money is a one-time allocation
Yes, I
to
know
us.
that, but what do we do?
And we are in the process, and we have been meeting with local agencies, other parties regarding generating revenue so that Northeast Elementary School can sustain-
Generating the revenue is called taxes.
No.
'Cause
No, not
nobody's
through
giving
tax.
us money for free.
We're
We're
not
doing it
looking-
this year because there's an election coming up, that's all.
Okay.
So we can't manufacture revenue sources. The taxpayer is the revenue source. So that means you're going to have to make up even a bigger increase in 24-25. Is that what you're telling the board? Because it seems to me that the board is not being told the information they need to make decisions. As far as the financial consultant, I'm not saying it's good or bad, because I don't really know enough about Mr. Frazier. I actually heard some good things. But what is the board's purpose for this financials? You're telling me, I heard that there weren't strings attached to the 2 million. So you're telling us that there is now strings attached? We have to spend 175,000 on a financial consultant? Is that what the state's telling us when we get that 2 million?
Correct.
Or it's just the board saying
No, it's the state had stated that.
that
that's
they,
how-
okay.
Yeah.
So
And-
so does the board get to decide what the financial consultant's purpose is and goals? Or does the state gave you a list of goals?
So I think as Dr. Talbot stated that the state has not provided any guidelines. So Mr. Frazier has been here roughly about 2 months or 3 months.
Mhm.
And so the funding for him has run out. So in regards, and so when he was hired under the
Right.
other area, there was a contract. So now if the state has certain other guidelines that he wants to follow, then that's what Dr. Talbot will.
So
want.
the board did hire Mr. Frazier with our tax dollars that came from this pocket,
Correct.
not the other pocket. So you had a goal for him when you hired him. What was his purpose? Did it ever get
The
discussed at a
purpose-
meeting
yeah,
or?
His purpose was to work with our financial assistant superintendent for finance and operations to oversee and provide guidance if needed on what was doing in developing the budget.
Now, I happened to look up board minutes for a different reason and happened to see some stuff. And there was our accountants recommended back many years ago that plans had to be implemented to safeguard the tax dollars and to ensure we know what's going on. I'm not saying that's the board's responsibility. It is delegated to the employees that work underneath the superintendent. And it looks like those guidelines were not even addressed. And that could be one of the reasons why we're in this predicament. So just help me understand how the budget was overspent. Did we get it? Was this a one-time $3 million expense that we didn't anticipate, or was it multiple monthly, quarterly expenditures you didn't expect?
So one of the things that the Board of Education has done, we have hired an auditor, an auditor to look in detail to answer that particular question.
So wait, our business official can't tell you whether that was a one-time expense, whether that was a monthly oversight not seen, or quarterly? Did we get an influx of very expensive students, that we didn't anticipate, $3 million worth? Nobody has told the board that.
So there has been information, for example, everything was provided in terms of, for example, different areas. And I don't remember, I don't have it in front of me.
No, I don't expect you to tell me
So
off the top
there
of your head.
there was like 5 or 6 different areas that indicated where there was overspending in certain areas. And that came up to the $3.6 million.
Right, but
And
that's at the end. That's like now, wham, you get hit in the head. Oh, wait, we're short $3 million.
No,
Did you
that-
know while you were spending 1,000, 2,000, 10,000? Were you told that? Were you alert? Look,
No,
everybody
no,
thinks
no,
it's very easy to read a budget. I don't expect the board to be informed like their accountants, because even accountants have a problem
Right.
recreating this. So did someone in administration alert the board? Listen, we're spending faster in this category than we anticipated. We got to start. I used to, when I was on the board, Ecclesias was the assistant superintendent of business, and a lot of people complained about him, me too. But I can tell you one thing he did. I remember several years where the expenditures were going faster than would normally be anticipated. And what did he do? September, teacher wasn't even allowed to spend a penny on even a piece of paper. And he alerted the board and said, listen, this line is going out, whether it was unanticipated students or gas or oil or the burner blew up, whatever. I don't remember at the time, it's many years ago. So the board was never alerted as the months went by, because the board, I believe, was blindsided by this.
So to answer your question-
I get the impression, maybe I'm wrong. I get the impression from the few minutes I read and the few comments I read in the paper, and the one, I didn't know you even were on YouTube. I happened to watch one YouTube video. It didn't seem like the board was kept abreast of the issue as it was happening, so that the board could take appropriate action then.
So to answer your question, the board was not alerted at that time. Since Dr. Talbot has been here, she has been giving us information and updating us. So,
I don't
but no, we-
anticipate that. I know she's new. I know that.
Yeah, so
but-
no, we were not.
But this has been, in fact, this is 3 million. And I happen to just FOIL request a lot of documents from the district clerk who's, been gonna send them to me. Because I saw something back even further back, a few years behind this $3 million issue that concerns me even more. And I'm just hoping it was a typo in paperwork that the district published, and a typo in the news, and a typo. But if it's not, we're in bigger trouble than the $3 million. So I just find it disconcerting that the board was not made aware at the time it was happening that, look, we're spending too much in this budget line. You know, if we got an influx of, 300 kids, yeah, all of a sudden you got $3 million, but that doesn't normally happen. So something was happening along the way that the administration was not keeping the board abreast. And even though I know the board legally only supervises and holds the superintendent accountable, there's a reason why you do want parents and stakeholders and students and taxpayers who have no children in the district to come forward and complain so that the board can find out, were they saying something that's really happening? Because that's really the only check and balance you have to know whether you're being told the whole story, right? So I don't blame Dr. Gilbert because I know she was Talbot, right? Talbot, she was here relatively new, but a lot of people were here. And I think the board does need to get to the bottom of that.
So I hate to do this.
Yeah, I
thing.
know the time is up. I don't agree with
I
that. You know that.
I know you don't.
And let people talk as long as they want.
I know.
But for the one parent who says, what do I tell my 5-year-old about no trips? Guess what? Mom and dad need to repair the roof this year. We're not going to Disney World. End of story. I don't
So-
understand why parents think that their kids could get everything they want. And I don't think the kids would be harmed depending on how the parents handle this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dan Holmes. Just to piggyback off that then, is it the board's job to oversee the superintendent or the superintendent's job to aware the board of budget issues like that?
So to answer your question, part of responsibility as a board member is the only two people that we oversee is the superintendent and legal. But if there's any issues that are arising within the district, it is up to the superintendent to provide that information to the Board of Education. So whether it's connected with curriculum instruction or finances or human resources, it's her job as the leader to provide us information for any particular area.
Gotcha. And then the prior superintendent was hired by this board though, right?
Correct.
Okay, so everybody was here and were in coordination with the idea that he was the right choice to be overseeing what was happening.
At that time, yes.
Okay. And then my other quick question is, if the money for the financial consultant, is it not, it's been talked about a lot, but is it not a good idea to get a new set of eyes? Or how did that get chosen to be Dr. Frazier again?
He has been very valuable since he's been here. He's been behind the scenes a lot. So to answer your question in regards to a different set of eyes, if that's something that we feel as a board that we need, then that's what we would do. But at this point in time, that's one part, and the other part is to whether or not the state has any guidelines connected to what his responsibilities will be here.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I just had a question about something that was brought up earlier regarding that bill for the science things. What was the cost of that bill again?
Ms. Kowalski, do you?
$110,000.
Okay.
I'm sorry, how much?
$110,000.
Okay, so the thing that doesn't particularly sit well with me is that this came to the board for a vote. It was not approved by the board to pay for this. And then it got paid anyway. Is that correct?
That's not accurate.
Okay,
We had to go to council for advice on that. It was referred to council. We went to council. Council looked at it and said we should pay it.
okay, so it didn't need to come back for another board approval. Is that the answer?
Correct. So
That's right.
It almost begs the question, why did it come in the first place? No?
Because it was a transfer originally.
That was discussed during executive session with council.
Thank you. All right, can I go into the agenda item? So for each of 2C 1, 2, 3, and 4, righty, I have to do it by roll call, which is the A, B, C, D. Mhm. All right, so I have to do each one by a roll call. So I have to do it separately, right? So as a reminder, the A is the one, right, which is not piercing the cap. The B connects to piercing the cap at 3.985. D pertains to piercing the cap at 4.879. And D pertains to piercing the cap at 5.27%, right? So I will do each one individually. Right. Can I have a motion for agenda item 2C1, please?
So moved.
Second.
Leslie Kretz is first and Carol C. Hoff is second, right? So going down the line for option A, since I'm first here, actually I'll start with Leslie Kretz and go around that way. Leslie? Yes or no for option A?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Leon?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Yes for myself and Ms. Seehoff?
Yes.
All right. I believe I still have to go do the other ones as well. All right, so can I have a motion for agenda item 2B, 2, please?
So moved.
Carol Seehoff is first. Can I have a second, someone, please?
Second.
Leslie Kretz is second. So going down the line for B, starting the same way, Leslie Kretz,
No.
Mr. Leon,
No.
Ms. Santos,
No.
and no for myself,
No.
and Carol Seehoff. Go. I'm just, Jeanette,
be a mute point because
it should be a moot point, but I'm just playing it safe, Ms. Santos, okay? Can I have a motion for agenda item 2C3, please?
So moved.
Carol Seehoff is first,
Second.
Leslie Kretz is second, so going down the line, Ms. Kretz,
No.
Mr. Leon,
No.
Ms. Santos? Johnson is no, Seehoff,
No.
and then for the last one, 2C4. Can I have a motion for 2C4, please?
So moved.
Leslie Kretz,
Second.
Carol Seehoff, second. Ms. Kretz,
No.
Mr. Leon,
No.
Santos? Johnson is no, and Seehoff, right? Now I'm going to agenda item 2C5, please. Can I have a motion for agenda item 2C5? Can I have a motion, please, someone?
So moved.
Jeanette Santos is first.
Second.
Leslie Kretz is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 2C6, please?
So moved.
Carol Seehoff is first.
Second.
Leslie Kretz is second. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye, motion carries 5. Ms. Kretz, are here? Ms. Seehoff?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, 5-0. Right. At this point in time, there was questions that arose in regarding the vacant seat. In regards to the vacant seat of Mr. Heller, we received notification, we received official notification, I should say, on that he was resigning, and that was going to be effective on Friday, April 19th, right? At that point in time, from advice from counsel, there was not an adequate amount of time to legally to post a notification for the vacant seat. It should have been done 45 days ahead of time, so it's not an adequate amount of time. So the Board of Education is aware of their options for filling the seat, which is one, you have 90 days. If you want to fill the seat, you can do a special election. It could be appointed by the board, or it could be, if there's a discord with the board, then the superintendent of BOCES would appoint the seat. So at this point in time, the seat is not going to be filled, and we will look into it and discuss it more. This is the first time the Board of Education has had an opportunity to come together in regards to this vacancy. So it's not going to be discussed tonight, and we will discuss it at another point in time. At this point in time, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:58, please? Oh, I'm sorry. If there's any community input about non-agenda items.
Yes, I did want to talk about two non-agenda items that are very important to me, but you guys just caused another snafu here. I'd like to know directly right now, where is talking to a lawyer about paying an invoice a protected item? I'd like to know.
You're talking about the 110?
Yeah, doesn't matter what the subject is, paying an invoice. When is that advice protected? It's public money. Why would you talk about that in executive session? You voted on February 7th to answer Mr. Leon's question. February 7th, the board voted down the transfer of the $110,561.70. You voted it down. We've been asking at the big meeting when everybody was here and there was not a standing room only. You came up to me and said what I said before. We didn't really speak to the council. I'll get back to you. How does the bill get paid? How did the bill get paid? When did you transfer the money?
Ms.
And-
Pawazzi, so the transfer of the money, it did not occur or did occur? Because in order to do transfer of money, it would have to come before the board. So you
Yes, I
did not.
have to look for the budget transfer. The budget transfer did okay later on.
Okay, because we look at every single agenda, believe it or not. We didn't see it. I can't believe we're actually talking about this in the middle of a financial crisis. That's a lot of money. And you paid the first one without a PO, with 110,000. All right, I want to quickly go through the proposition that's going to be on the ballot. Are you going to explain it to the community or just put it in the mailer and it won't make sense to them?
No, I will explain it.
Okay.
I will do it at the next two May meetings. I want to make sure that the information that will be sent out in the mail, that I will be utilizing the same language. So yes,
Okay.
at each meeting, I will explain.
Okay,
I will use the same language that's on the proposition, because what I don't want to do is make a statement here and then it's on the proposition and the statement won't be the same. So yes, I will do them both I will use the same language at the two May meetings.
okay. And can you confirm with the lawyer that you guys can talk about invoices in executive session? Really talk to him and ask him?
All right, so.
That's very important as a community member to
Dr.
know.
Talbot, I think, has taken a note on it, so we will.
Okay, I want to answer. I just, wow. Okay. The Heller seat that you're going to talk about, let's remember Fuller's seat was vacated in November. You all had a meeting, every board member made public comments, we all vote together, not a reason to fill the seat. We never have a split vote, no reason to fill the seat. Too much education required, let's not fill the seat. That was in November. Now you have another vacated seat. And quite honestly, with three seats being filled, I think the community should say, the board that takes effect July 1st should decide. You had 6-7 months not to fill Fulton's seat. You denied the community the 7th vote. Like you made 6 the new 7. Another person having good ideas maybe. The top vote getter in the last election could have been part of the board when you were faced with all these problems. So that's my input. Just wanted to say that. I didn't get to the main reason why I wanted to talk. So I'll bring it back the next time. But a little homework is when I asked the question again about superintendent goals, and Dr. Talbot said that, oh, they're there, they're on the website. I did look. And you said they were up there since the beginning of the school year. Yet we came to the podium multiple times and asked, and everybody agreed they're important, they're legally required by a school board to evaluate the superintendent. Your instruments are in your board policies to do. I read the website. There are 3 goals. With all due respect, they're job descriptions. They are not measurable. How are you going to measure anything on these 3 goals? I don't understand that. How are you going to measure to learn and get to know the district? Where's student achievement? Measured is numbers. Let's raise it by this much, or do this, or do that. And then you do interim checkups with the superintendent, and they give you progress towards the goals. We have a lot on our plate with student achievement and finances. I pray your superintendent goals next year are robust, that you actually do it. You haven't done it the last few years by your own admission. We got to get this together.
Thank you.
I just want to say about the vacancy, I do also hope that you wait until the new board is elected after July 1st. I know that it's your right to do it before then, but in the spirit of democracy and transparency, I mean, the community will vote for whoever they want, whoever those people may be, but I think that that would build some trust with the community. Lastly, I'm the person that authored the proposition that will be on the ballot. It's the board president's job to be the conduit to transfer the information to the community so that they're well informed. I believe that the best voter is an informed voter. You have several people in this audience that are former trustees, whether it be this district or another. So I'm going to take this opportunity to explain it to somebody. There's no need to wait for a next meeting. It should have been really discussed numerous times. The at-large proposition is this. Right now, we have by seat. You have to choose somebody's seat to run against. It's already an adversarial tone when you do that. It's almost as if you're pitting somebody against somebody, a resident against a resident. It's really not the case, right? We're all running for children and for taxpayers. Nobody's running to get somebody off. Nobody's running to go after anybody. That's not the case. And at large, it will be on the ballot. You vote yes or no. If it passes, it's implemented next year. What that means is that next year, the top vote getters would win. It takes the whole adversarial tone out of it. Amityville could be pretty brutal, pretty nasty, pretty personal attacks. The more you're talking about people is the less you're talking about issues and platforms. I hope that this move, with my intention behind it was to raise the bar for the community and raise the bar for the election process in general. I do hope people will support it.
Caroline Fanning. At the last meeting, Mr. Heller came up to me and 3 other attendees, and told us that he did not intend to complete his term. And he gave a whole slew of reasons why. And after several minutes of listening to him, the 4 of us collectively said, if you don't believe you're going to complete your term, why not let democracy take its course and resign early so that someone else can run for his seat? None of us knew then that the deadline had already passed. We're not lawyers, that's why you have lawyers, so we understand. But to just reiterate the point that Debbie made and Wendy made, in the spirit of democracy, I believe why Mr. Heller resigned when he did, it would make the most sense to wait till the new board is seated on July 1st and let that be a decision by the people who have been elected by the community. It would do a lot to rebuild trust.
Thank you.
Stephanie Andrews. I just want to make this comment about the at-large voting, an adversarial comment made by Ms. Canastro. I think that's her name. First of all, I think at-large is a mistake because if anybody thinks that these people aren't elected officials, aren't politicians, they're mistaken on what their purpose is. They each have an agenda. Some might be, they want to cut taxes, some might want to spend to ad nauseum, but they have an agenda. You hold them to agenda as the voter. If they don't, you could certainly try to convince them to change their position with facts and data. But if anybody thinks this should become a PTA meeting, what's running for the board, That is how you wind up with nothing but a board, but a school run by the employees. And that's not necessarily in the interest of the students, the taxpayers, or even the employees. So I think everybody needs to think very hard and clearly about what I call board members the stupid politicians, because they're the unpaid ones, but they're no different than your local senator, congressman, assemblyman. They're just not paid. But you should they spend 2/3 of your tax dollars. You should hold them accountable for what they said they were going to do. And you don't blame them for things they have no control over, or that their side didn't have any control over, or that they were misled by the people who are supposed to be advising them. Your job as a taxpayer, as a voter, is to hold them accountable for what they say and to help educate them on what's going on so they could make informed decisions. That's in the interest of all three of those groups, because any one group is not good. You need to do what's in the children's interest, the taxpayers' interest, and the staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Holmes, just real quickly, is there any update on the financial audit at all?
At this point in time, no. The end of the month is when they're supposed to provide us with some type of report. And once that happens, the person has stated that they would come before the board and the community to give an update.
Thank you.
Debbie Magnani, I'd like just to add about the at seat versus at large. I ran last year and I had to choose my opponent and it was very uncomfortable. I felt it made it very contentious. It took out the reason why I ran. I ran for the community. I ran for the children. I think that at seat makes it about people's pride. I think it takes away the value of this position. I hope that the community votes the right way. And I think that unfortunately, the district has been more family and friends first and children last, and that needs to change.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:10, please?
Can I just make a comment? I just want to thank Ms. Eglinger and Ms. Andrews for coming out tonight as past board presidents and the input that they provided. Thank you.
Can I motion to adjourn at 7:10, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Juan Leon is first. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Carol Seal for second. All those in favor? Aye, motion carries 5-0. Thank you for coming.